Hola my friends! Welcome back to A Life I Choose, the place to be to design your life so you can thrive. For those of you who don't know me, hi. I'm Emma, I'm a psychotherapist, a lifestyle strategist, and I'm also the founder of A Life I Choose. A Life I Choose is a self-development agency where we work on boosting our clients' strengths so that you can overcome any challenge and create a life that is truly fulfilling, exciting, meaningful, and driven. Today, I have a video for you called How to Quieten Your Inner Critic so you can succeed in your goals. This is also, it doesn't even have to be about succeeding in your goals. It's important to learn how to quieten your inner critic just so you can have an enjoyable life in general, because our inner critics can drive us freaking bananas. So, the reason I'm making this video is because you guys are achievers. And the reason that I know this is because, one, you wouldn't be watching this channel if you weren't. I work with you, a lot of you are my clients, so I know you're achievers. And three, I interact with you on Instagram, we dialogue a lot, and I get to know things about you. And I know that you guys, the people who follow A Life I Choose, are people who are driven, are people who have big dreams, and sometimes your dreams are so big that you don't allow yourself to fully embrace them because you worry that what if you don't live up to that. You're people who care immensely for the people around you, and you experience a lot of responsibility to create a high quality of life. Now, I honor all of these things within you. You are people with high standards. You are people who are movers and shakers, and you will make a difference in this world, a very positive difference. There is one thing that you need to pay attention to in order to be able to make this difference, and that is your inner critic. With big expectations and responsibility comes a big inner critic. And I want to speak to you a bit about how the inner critic develops and why we need to take care of our inner critic so that it doesn't stop us in our tracks. Our inner critics are driven by fear. They are fear constructs that develop in childhood. So there was this one time I was with my nieces, and one of my nieces stood up on the edge of the couch. And the couch wasn't against the wall, there was nothing behind it. In fact, it was up on a step, so it was even higher, and she could have fallen, a greater distance. And she's standing tall, and she was fine. She had no, she looked very, very confident in herself. So I had no reason to tell her, like, hey, gee, like, get down, At the same time, I'm her aunt, and the last thing I want is for this kid to fall and crack her head open, right? Or break her neck or whatever, right? So that's my fear construct telling me, oh my God, this is what could go wrong. So I go, and from my fear construct, I tell her, gee, sit down because I don't want you to hurt, right? And when we're kids, our outer dialogue, so what we hear around us, becomes our inner dialogue. So, we were kids once, and we heard things like, don't throw that ball because you could break a window, or don't shout so loud because you're bothering the people over there, or don't say that because you'll hurt their feelings, or don't take that because you're selfish. And we also heard things like, we break a glass, and a parent who's just like stressed and has everything going wrong, that they will just look at us and explode and be like, you're so stupid, and what the hell did you do? Maybe, and you might have had a less intense reaction of like, why did you do that? And kind of, you get the point. Punishment, right? So we're hearing, don't do this because you'll screw it up. And you're also hearing, why did you do that? You made a mistake. And this is totally normal. And I know that some of the parents watching this right now are thinking about the way that they do this to their kids. This is what I mean when I say you are achievers. You're already jumping to make sure that you don't limit your own children before you've even taken in the information. Stop. Stay with what I'm saying and don't jump 3 steps ahead. Just stay here, just take in the information and chill. We hear these things in childhood, and we all develop a fear construct. There is nothing wrong with developing a fear construct. We need a fear construct because our fear protects us. Our fear stops us from getting into cars with strangers. Our fear stops us from handing over money to people who will not deliver on their promises. So it stops us from being screwed over. Our fear protects us. The thing is that our fear can also become overactive. Our inner critic, same thing, inner critic and fear, same thing, can become overactive. Okay? So achievers, big expectations in their career life, in their personal lives, you know, and with their health and whatever else. Big expectations, big inner critics, okay, because the expectations come anyway from high standards. So big inner critics, because you don't want to fail, you don't want to mess this up, you don't want to get it wrong, blah 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 blah. High expectations, big inner critics, coupled together, already a recipe for a bumpy ride. Put in their impatience and you have a recipe for disaster, because you are creating a very painful experience for yourself. All our brains subscribe to the pain and pleasure principle. So all of our brains are seeking pleasure and at the same time avoiding pain. So when you think about the things that you want to create in your life, the kind of career that you want, the kind of home that you want, the kind of family that you want, the kind of relationship that you want, you are seeking pleasure. You are thinking about the way that you want your life to be. At the same time, the brain wants to avoid pain at all costs, because pain could mean illness and it could mean death. So the body and the brain want to protect you. When you have set a goal, okay, so you have set a goal, for example, to create an international business, for example, or you have set a goal to have a really good relationship with your kids, okay? It's more than a goal, it's a philosophy, right? This is your philosophy, this is your standard. And so as you move along, obviously you're human and you're gonna make mistakes. You know, if your philosophy or your standard is that you wanna have a really good relationship with your children, there are gonna be days when your tank is running low and you will have a hard time processing your emotions, and a lot of things are going on, and you snap and you say things that you shouldn't, or you do something that you shouldn't. This is absolutely normal. It's not an excuse. Like, we always need to acknowledge what we do wrong and learn from it and change it. So it's not an excuse for bad behavior. We can't just say, oh, I acted badly because, you know, whatever. But I know that you wouldn't be watching this video if you were that kind of person. So the point is, we have these standards, and it's good that we have these standards because they keep us on track, okay? And they keep us living in alignment with our values. At the same time, there are going to be days when we make mistakes. Whether you are a parent, or you are a business owner, or you are a freelancer, or you are, you know, on a mission to get fit and healthy, there are going to be days when you make mistakes, or you break the rules, or you mess up, because you're human. On those days, you need to learn how to manage your inner critic, because your inner critic will swoop in so fast and will make you feel like utter crap about yourself. Okay, so let's say you're the parent who had, you know, a bad day, and you spoke to your kids in a way that just was not okay, and you know it wasn't okay, and you feel like shit for it, okay? So in your head, you're giving yourself shit for it, and maybe you're not even fully aware of it, but you just don't feel okay. Like, you're annoyed with yourself, you're frustrated with yourself, you're frustrated with the people around you. You just don't feel okay. What's important is that you notice this inner critic, and you notice these feelings and what they're telling you. And so you see your inner critic, and your inner critic's telling you things like, you're such a shit mom, like, I knew this would happen, I knew you wouldn't be able to keep it all together, you should have never become a mother, look what you've done, blah 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 blah, on and on and on and on and on. So I breathe now, because whenever you notice your inner critic, you need to create some space, because this is all fear driven. And sometimes we think that punishment is an effective mode of discipline, but it's actually not. The more that you put yourself in a state of pain, the less you'll be able to grow, because you need to be able to acknowledge the mistake you've made and feel the guilt around it or whatever, but it's important that you don't get stuck there. And to be able to not get stuck, you need to be able to say, I'm still worthy of love. I'm a good person. I'm a good person who did a bad thing in that moment, and I'm going to repair it. You take ownership. But if you go like, oh, I'm a shit mom, and I F this up, and it's never gonna be okay again. I can't believe what I did, and you just give yourself crap over and over and over again. You are gonna have such a hard time rebalancing, such a hard time coming back. And because you're not being compassionate with yourself, you're gonna have a really hard time being compassionate with your kids and with your partner or with your clients or with whoever needs compassion from you at that point in time. So whether it's about parenting or it's about running a successful business, the same thing in your business. You're gonna make mistakes. There are gonna be days when you realize that you didn't notice something, or you did something in a way that was, I don't know, unthoughtful or whatever. And your inner critic will start, you shouldn't have done this, it's so stupid, and you need to be able to see it, because the pain and pleasure principle, right? We go after our goals, we have our high standards, we want to improve our lives because we believe this will give us pleasure. And it will. Achievement brings us pleasure. But when the process becomes painful, because our expectations are that we should be here, but in reality we're here, then it becomes painful, because that gap, we end up feeling like we're never enough. And anything that becomes painful, the brain wants to avoid, wants to push away. So if your journey towards your goals is a painful one, your body and your mind will work together to sabotage you, to make sure that you quit trying, because it's just too painful. So you'll end up procrastinating, you'll end up not meeting your own deadlines, you'll end up not sticking to your own, routine and action steps that you need to take. You will unconsciously sabotage yourself so that you don't have to deal with that constant criticism. How do you overcome this? How can you keep reaching your goals even with an inner critic? So the goal is not to kill your inner critic. It's not possible, okay? Our inner critic comes from fear. It's a fear construct. You cannot kill fear. Fear is biologically wired into us because it's necessary. It's necessary for our survival. So you don't want to kill your inner critic, okay? You don't want to lower your standards. You want to keep your standards. Your standards are a reflection of your values. So keep your standards high. What's important is that you create realistic expectations and that you are in the driver's seat, not your inner critic. So step one, you want to name your inner critic. As ridiculous as it sounds, it is a super effective technique. You just name your inner critic. Remember, your inner critic is your friend, okay? It's your super anxious, sometimes rather bitchy, Polish friend, okay? Who tells you not to do this, not to do that, because you make a mistake, and oh my god, what if, and oh my god, what if you said the wrong thing, and oh my god, what if you upset that person, and oh my god, what if you get this wrong, and don't do that because you'll F it up, and stay quiet, and blah 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 blah. Super anxious, rather nasty friend when giving feedback. Your job is to remember that this is your mind, your life, and your responsibility to calm this part of you down. So create some space between you and the inner critic, and you name your inner critic. I name mine Melinda. I don't know why I chose the name Melinda, it just came to me. So ask yourself, does your inner critic sound like a guy or a girl? Go with your gut and name your inner critic. And maybe you tell me, hey, mine sounds non-binary. Cool, choose a name for your non-binary inner critic. That's absolutely fine, and name your inner critic. And that way, whenever you hear yourself going off at yourself, You create this distance. This is a very mindful exercise. It's a mindful movement of creating space and awareness. And you just go, hey, Melinda, I see you. I hear you. It's okay. Yes, I made a mistake. Yes, I could have behaved better there. You know, I'm a good person. I'm going to make this right. Or if she's anticipating that something could go wrong, you say, you know what? It's okay. Yeah, stuff could go wrong, but I've got this. I trust myself. I'm gonna do a good job, you know? It's okay. Things will be okay. So basically, you learn to be a friend to your super anxious, sometimes bitchy friend. And in so doing, you're actually being a friend to yourself and you're calming this part of yourself down. And when you're able to do that, you step out of fight or flight. You bring belonging back to yourself because you do not abandon yourself for making a mistake. And from that space of belonging, calming down fight or flight, you turn on your prefrontal cortex again. You can see more clearly again. You can own what you did or own what you're about to do and step into it choicefully rather than running on an old pattern that comes from fear. I hope this makes sense. If anything isn't making sense, please just leave your question or your comment in the comments section below and I will answer you. Step 2 is celebrate your wins. So this is something that very often we think is pointless, but I promise you it is not. It is a game changer when it comes to reaching your goals. We need to celebrate our wins. Okay, so while we are learning to decrease the pain so that we can keep moving towards our goals, we also need to amplify the pleasure. Why live and why work hard if life is not going to feel good? And remember that no one is going to come and make you feel good. No one, even the love of your life, doesn't have the power to come and make you feel good all the time. Sometimes they add to it, they contribute to it, but that's the point. They add, they contribute to it. Any recognition that you gain from clients or love that you get from your kids or an award that you receive for your hard work or anything like that, these just add to your own experience, but you cannot leave your self-worth and your feeling good up to other people. No one is going to do this for you. You need to do it for yourself. So remember the pain and pleasure principle. We're avoiding pain, we're seeking pleasure. So we reduce pain by creating space between ourselves and the inner critic. And we are seeking pleasure by going after our goals and making that process as enjoyable as possible. So you learn to celebrate the wins, okay? And you can celebrate the wins by just writing them down in a journal. Whenever something good happens, whenever you rock at something, whenever you do something courageous, you write that down. And you write it down so that your brain takes note of it. And when you forget and you're having difficulty remembering the good that you're doing from the work that you're doing and why you're doing this work and why you're living in this way, you can go back to it and remember. You can go back to that journal and see. You can see, for example, I got this feedback from this client. They said I really helped them. Tick. Good. You know, I had this moment with my daughter and she smiled at me and I could see that I did something good there. Mark it down. You know, I did all my workouts this week. Mark it down. You know, I was feeling exhausted, so I took some time to re-nourish because I knew that if I didn't, then I wouldn't be able to perform at my best. And once I did, I rocked and rolled. Mark it down. These are wins. You celebrate your wins. And you can choose the celebration based on how big the win feels as well. So you can write down the little ones. If it's a big win, if you landed a big, client, you made a big deal, pop open a bottle of bubbly. You've been working on a goal and you achieve it, like celebrate it, mark it. Okay, you need to acknowledge your wins, and don't forget that the moment you achieve something, your brain's gonna go easy, next. Okay, and if you're just gonna go whoop whoop, then you're here and you're gonna, oh no. You have to acknowledge the wins. You have to see where you've come from in order to be able to move forward. Okay, so you choose to feel good about yourself first. So guys, I hope you found this video helpful. Please give it a like if you did, and also don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Leave your comments in the comment section below. I can't wait to dialogue with you, and I'll see you in the next video soon. I wish you peace and love and joy and achievement and so much love and compassion along the way. Peace. Bye.